Hello, everyone. Welcome to the HeartSet podcast, the private podcast where the host changes and the guest stays the same. I'm Annie Riker. I'm an artist and designer, and I love expressing myself through joyful and colorful art. You can find me at annieriker.com and at Annie Riker on Instagram. I'm your host for this episode, and today I've got a painful topic. Well, just playing with that, we're going to be talking all about pain. And now I'd like to introduce our sponsor and resident guest. Ramona Galey helps self-starters leverage their personal assets into success, even if they think they don't have any assets. Ramona is passionate about empowering people to focus on what they want, and she is the founder of HeartSet Academy and the Alignment Circle. You can see her full bio in the comments. Welcome, Ramona. I'm excited to be digging in to the topic with you today.
Thank you, Annie, and thanks for the little chuckle at the very beginning. And I'm looking forward to this topic, as painful as it might be. I have a feeling we're going to be joking through the whole thing.
Yes, we might as well laugh about it, right?
Absolutely.
So let's start with what is it and why? What is pain and why is it important to our existence?
Well, okay. So just on the very basic level, pain is an expression of resistance. Mm-hmm. Some sort of friction. I like the analogy. I'm driving down the road. I'm going 80 miles an hour and my brakes are on. I'm making a heck of a lot of smoke. It smells really bad. It's probably going to burst into flames. It's bad news. And I'm just driving down the freeway. And, that sounds extreme. Like, who would ever do that? Nobody would ever do that. If you ever did that, like, you'd be crazy. Like, that would be stupid, right? And so it would be easy for us to kind of beat up on ourselves. But yet, this is what we're encouraged to do, if you think about it, from the day we're born. Ignore that sensation. Ignore your preference. Ignore that emotion. Ignore that desire. Ignore everything you think and feel and want to do in favor of somebody else's instructions, somebody else's desires, somebody else's preferences, somebody else, what they want. And so as that's the break, and yet your desires are this like full steam ahead. Now, some of us have huge desires from the day we're born. Like I can only imagine what kind of a kid Elon Musk was, like just, that just like he must have just been amazing. My late partner was like that. She was just full steam ahead, apparently from the day she came out. Like she just would just drive herself and then until she just fell over, exhausted and cry, like that full steam ahead. And some of us have more moderate desires. Like we don't really want much. We just want to feel good. We want to be happy. We want to have good friends. We want to have enough food. We want to have enough water. So, but wherever we find ourselves on any particular topic, on any particular day, we've got a desire. And that desire has already become, now we're getting into a little bit of the woo, but as we desire something and that desire takes shape, vibrational shape, it becomes. And now it turns around and it calls to us, says, come on in, come on over, come be us, come see us, come get us, come get me. It starts flirting with us, it comes calling to us. And so the more we want to follow the call of our desire, the faster we're going to go. In this metaphor on the freeway, right? So we might be going only 20 miles an hour, we might be going 100 miles an hour. But if we got the brakes on at the same time, I'm doing one of those old-fashioned brakes, you'd pull on the brake. And if that brake is on, then there's a lot of friction. And that's where the pain comes from. You think about when I was in college, I went to a conservatory. I was a musician. I was in training to become a professional musician. And I would get sick with the flu, like really bad flu, every single semester, the day after the last final exam. Because I'd be pushing really hard right up to that deadline that my mind knew, my body knew, right up to here, we have to go fast. We have to get there no matter what. It doesn't matter how much smoke we're leaving, how bad it smells. It doesn't even matter if it's on fire already. We've got to get to this finish line, this artificial finish line. And as soon as I got there, and I'd be out for days, sometimes weeks, flat in bed, exhausted, sick. And so that's a very extreme, maybe example. And the freeway with the 80 miles an hour and the brakes, they seem extreme examples or metaphors, but they're really what we do to ourselves. We ignore our body's feedback, which would be the smoke and the smell. We keep pushing. We keep pushing. We keep pushing. I've got to. My kids are depending on me. My family's depending on me. I've got to take care of my parents. So and so needs me to do this. The boss is screaming at me. I got to do that. I've got to keep my job. I've got to I've got to keep, getting up and getting dressed every day. I've got to go to the grocery store. Like I've got to do, I've got to do, I've got to do. And that's the 80 miles an hour with the brakes on, because that's not how we're meant to live. That's not how we want to live. We want to live in the cycle. The natural cycle is just like the acoustical sine wave. It's like the heartbeat cycle. It's like every cycle that occurs in nature. Fall leads to winter. Winter leads to spring. Spring leads to summer. Summer leads to fall. Anybody who does any exercises know you contract and then you release. You contract and then you release. If you're contract, they call that isotopic. They used to call it. I don't know what they call it now. When I was a kid, they called it isotopic. It was supposed to be super duper exercise because you're pushing, 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 but then you release. If you contract and 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 never release, the muscle fails. And if you release and 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 never contract, the muscle fails. And it's the same with our vibrations. It's the same with our entire physiology. We are the entire natural world runs in cycles. And you look at any cat or dog or cow or horse, they're mostly just standing around. Lions. I went on that safari last year and I saw these big, huge cats, these big predators that were supposed to be so scary. And they're laying on their backs going, that's that scary predator. They're predators about 5% of the time, and the rest of the time they relax. Mm. And we don't do that in our modern society. We don't allow ourselves to do that. We don't allow each other to do it. What are you, some kind of lazy bum? What do you think the universe is centered around you? What do you think money grows on trees? How many times have we heard stuff like that? No pain, no gain. You got to pay your dues, kiddo. You better get with the program. We're going to be left behind. Sit down, shut up, walk in a straight line, do what I tell you to do. Well, when you do that, when you allow that and participate in that and embrace that and incorporate that and express that in your body, guess what? You get pain. That was kind of a long answer to a short question. But that's where pain comes from. That's where pain comes from.
Right. Yeah, that completely, that the visual of that. Plus, I love the animal relaxing. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh, that sounds so dreamy. I want to be that animal, just relaxing.
Right?
Well, so then, okay, so that's what pain is. And then what do you think that most people don't realize about pain's power? Like why do we kind of resist it so much? I know it hurts, but what do you think, what is the kind of more, what is it really trying to tell us, and how could we listen to it more?
Well, if we knew that it was just a symptom of pushing too hard, of driving ourselves, of not listening to our bodies, of not listening to our emotions, I think we'd stop doing all that. But that's hard to acknowledge. That's hard to admit. When you've got an entire sick care industry telling you there's a pill, I can give you a pill that'll make that pain disappear, because pain's very compelling. Pain
Yes.
is very compelling. I had my back go out, not that long ago, and I could not stand. I couldn't walk. I couldn't sit. I couldn't lay down. I had no choice. I was in
Nothing.
horrible, horrible pain. The only thing that made it go away was when I received Oprah. So during that whole time that I was recovering from that, I was seeing Oprah clients the whole time. Pain disappeared. Now it helped that probably 10 years earlier, I had had horrible pain from, I had a uterine fibroid and I hadn't had it out yet. And I was doubled over in pain. And I was supposed to go see she was kind of my therapist. She was billed as my therapist, but she was also kind of a spiritual guru. Name's Adi Kari, beautiful woman. And I called her and I said, I can't come. I'm in too much pain. I'm doubled. I can't walk. She says, is there anybody there that can drive you? And I said, yeah, my friend Nancy's in from out of town, but I'm in town. She says, come on, just get her to come on, bring you over. Okay. So I get Nancy and I'm like crawling up the steps. So she was in an apartment building. I like literally crawled up the steps and she had me focus on releasing the label, the word pain, to go to the directly to the sensation underneath that label. And as soon as I did, the sensation disappeared. The pain, what we would call pain, disappeared. I was fine. I walked out completely erect, came back down the stairs, get in the car, and Nancy's like, what the heck happened to you? This was like magic. The pain disappeared because I stopped resisting it. Started
Uh-huh.
listening to my body and I started loving my body directly, the pain disappeared. Now, the uterine fibroid was still there. It wasn't like it just, didn't magically, I eventually had it taken out surgically. But and then getting back to this thing when my back went out, they were like, oh, we've done your MRI, we've done your X-ray, all the different I don't know what all that we did. And yeah, you've got 3 ruptured discs, 4 ruptured discs, whatever it is. We've got to do back surgery on you immediately. You're going to be in pain for the rest of your life. In fact, you may not walk again. Okay, we have to do this surgery. And I said, oh no. And no. So I went through a series of both receiving Oprah, knowing that I was pain free when I was receiving Oprah, really kind of gave me the strength, the courage, the internal self knowledge to stick it. I mean, I knew I could always have surgery at some point if that, but I was like, well, but first let's try this other thing. And I went and got it's called prolotherapy. It's an alternative thing. It's just some nutritional support injections that go in, right where the meridians are and stuff. And healed it all completely. I never did have any surgery and I don't have any pain. And so I guess the long and the short of it is, unless we acknowledge, if we choose the modern route, which is generally drugs or surgery, then it's, what it kind of reminds me of, I had a client once who was considering some cosmetic surgery and came to Oprah to consult. Is this a good thing for me to do? Should I do this? Should I not do this? I feel like I have mixed, I really want it, but I think it's wrong. I don't know. So, and Oprah said there's absolutely nothing wrong with, cosmetic surgery, plastic surgery, as they call it, but make peace with the piece of yourself, your body part that you're talking about having removed. We would do it beforehand, and then you may feel like you don't have to have it removed anymore. But either way, even if you do it afterwards, we would make peace, in other words, love that part of your body. And boy, were they right. I mean, that was a big turning point. That was a huge turning point. And so if you're talking about, removing something in resistance, then, heard people have phantom pain. They've lost an arm and their hand used to hurt all the time. And now they've had it amputated. The hand still hurts, even though the hand doesn't exactly physically exist anymore. It's been cut off here, but vibrationally it still exists. That's what phantom pain is.
Wow, wow.
Because
Yeah.
you haven't released the resistance of whatever that thing is. So the pain will simply move somewhere else. The dysfunction will migrate. Cancer cells spread. Oh my God, I have cancer.
Yeah.
Cancer. The resistance of that, well, they start to spread because you're putting so much focus on them. I'm not saying that don't go get medical help if you have a medical problem. Okay. I'm saying that pain is your body's expression of dysfunction in the way you're approaching yourself vibrationally in some way, shape, or form. The easiest thing might very well be to take a pill or, like Oprah's always saying, do whatever it takes to feel good. If that's drugs, if that's surgery, if that's alcohol, if that's robbery, if that's rape, if that's serial murder, do whatever it takes to feel good, but then don't stay there. So,
Right.
like in the case of physical pain, maybe take a pill, but then start figuring out what the vibrational essence of it is and how to release it, how to start focusing on pleasure, how to start focusing on self care, how to start focusing on self esteem, self respect, self love, how to start focusing on the integrated self that has everything we need so that we're not constantly out there looking for something that's outside ourselves, because all of that's all friction. It's all going to show up in our body one way or the other. Even if we fix the one, it'll show, it's the next, it's like the cascade of body parts, like they've pretty well established. If you fuse one part of your spine, then within a year or two, you're going to need to fuse the next one. Within a year or two, you're going to feed, because all you're doing is kicking the can down the road.
Right.
If you figure it out vibrationally, you've gotten to what they call these days the root cause. The root cause. Very powerful. Not in a sound bite out there somewhere. It's right in here. It's pretty challenging, but it can be done. And lots of people have done it.
It is challenging. That I'm glad that you acknowledge that, or thank you for acknowledging that, because as you know, you've said before in different ways, like our bodies lag behind. So
Yes,
even our vibration, if we think that maybe we're in a different vibrational place, it can take some time for our bodies to catch up to that. So
absolutely.
yeah, and I also like what you said about how, you address maybe a symptom, but then the pain shows up somewhere else. And I think Abraham has talked about that too. Like you take something and you have a side effect. The side effect is just another
Yeah.
expression of the same resistance, right?
Yes. Oh,
So
that's another whole topic, side effects.
side
The
effects, yeah.
vibrational essence of side effects. I love it. I love it.
We'll
That's
to come back
beautiful.
on. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I guess what I wanted to ask you about on another level. So I've been through various levels of, managing chronic pain and chronic illness, and I feel like vibrationally I've moved way past that, and my body is catching up with it now.
Yeah,
But when you're so for people who are in that stage where they think like, oh, I'm doing all the things vibrationally and nothing's changing. Um, I want to know like what you have to say about that. And I know compassion is part of it, but then also, in the spirit of doing whatever it takes, I think sometimes when some of us who are in the spiritual world and we were really into the message of Abraham, we think, well, it's all on us and we only can do this vibrationally to save ourselves, where we could balance that out with tools. So those are
absolutely.
questions,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. So tools are really essential for everything that we want to do. If I don't feel good and I want to feel better, there's a tool. It might be meditation. It might be, petting a cat. It might be taking a nap, but it also might be just throw myself into work for a little bit, just like whatever it takes to distract myself.
Mhm.
Because if I'm focused on something and I'm trying to change the focus and I keep coming back, I go, oh, look, squirrel. And I go right back to it. And then I say, pet a cat, and I come right back to it, read a book, come back to it, watch TV, come back to it, go shopping, come back to it. Then well, I want a bigger and stronger tool or more tools, just whatever it takes, because do whatever it takes to feel good. It's like, it's do whatever. I mean, like whatever. Find a tool. So if surgery is the tool that works, there's nothing wrong with surgery. But if
Mhm.
you use a tool in an unthinking way, just like if you take a hammer, let's say you've got a 2-year-old and there's a hammer laying around, they're completely unknowledgeable, unskilled, and unintentional about this hammer. And so they pick it up, and the next thing you know, the mirror is broken And then the plate glass is broken. And then the chair is broken because this kid's having great fun with his hammer. And so it's a powerful tool in unskilled or unthinking hands. And so if you think of surgery as a pretty powerful tool, if when you're intentional about it, when you understand what's going on, when you make peace with it, when you accept yourself and stop beating up on yourself, you don't let anybody else beat up on you. The doctor telling you, well, you should have done this, you should have done that. And your parents telling you, well, you really need to, do this and do that. And your kids are saying, oh my God, mom, why aren't you doing this? And why aren't you doing that? There's a lot of, what we call the peanut gallery's opinions about especially the more powerful tools, but really any tool. Why are you just sitting there? Why aren't you doing something? Well, I'm resting. Or, well, I was thinking about taking a nap. Well, in the middle of the day, what's wrong with you? Like
Oh,
that tool can be anything, and the negative response to it from anybody can be anything. But when you're right here, when you're integrated with yourself and you're following your guidance, the right tool, it kind of glows. For some people, it hums, or it vibrates. For some people, it glows like an aura almost. It can be lots of different. Some people can actually smell it. Not very many. Usually, it's either visual or it's kinesthetic, and sometimes both. But it could be anything. It could sing to you if you're very orally oriented. It could be singing to you, calling to you like a siren from the rocks. Come to me. But whatever that is, if you can respond to it with no judgment, if you can just open to it and say, okay, I hear you, I asked for a tool and here you've come. Now, does that mean it's the only tool you're ever going to use for the rest of your life? No, it's the tool right here, right now.
good
And
point.
2 minutes later, some better tool or some different tool may appear, and you say, oh, that feels better. I'm going to try that. So you reach for the next tool and the next tool and the next tool and the next tool. And it doesn't matter how many tools it takes. It doesn't matter how long it takes. What matters is how it feels and how you feel about yourself and about your world and about your body and about your tools and about everything. How do I feel? What do I want? How do I feel? What do I want? Those are kind of like the two basic questions. How do I feel? What do I want? How do I feel right now? And what do I want? How do I want to feel? What do I want? How do I feel right now? Okay. And what do I want from here? Not from there, not from there, not from the past, not from the future, from right here, right now. What do I want? That will that will take care of most of it right there.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. What do I want? Not thinking about what do I have or what's hurting right now. What is it
Right,
that
exactly. Because if you're focusing on the pain, then you're focusing on what you don't want. Just to be really clear, you don't ever want to focus on what you don't want. And we are not taught the difference.
Mm-hmm.
What you want feels good. What you want always feels good. If it doesn't feel good to think about what you want, then it's entangled or you're focusing on the complete opposite. I love the one that Abraham quotes where Jerry and Esther were really wishing it would rain, and so they told Abraham, "We really want it to rain." Abraham said, "Well, why do you want it to rain?" "Well, because it's so dry and it's so brown and everything's dying." "No, you've told us why you don't want it to rain. Tell us why you want it to rain." "Well, the cattle, don't have enough to drink, and the little wildlife, they don't have enough to drink, and they're dying." No, you've told us why you don't want it to rain. Tell us why you do want it to rain. "Oh, well, because it'll be green and it'll be lush and everybody will be happy. All the little animals will have water to drink and it'll smell that smell that you can smell right after it rains or even while it's raining. That smell. We want that smell. We want the lush greenery. We want ease and comfort for all the animals." And so then it rained in the middle of a huge drought with not a cloud in the sky. They even reported it on the news that evening. "In some strange turn of events, there was a 5-minute rain shower in Bertie, Texas, or wherever they were, that lasted 5 minutes and was a total anomaly. We can't explain it." And then they moved on to the next thing. So always focus on what you want, not on what you don't want, not the missing thing that you want, not the lack of it, always the presence of it, the beauty of it, the love of it, the luxuriousness of it, the freedom of it, the joy of it. The thing that you want always feels good. Anything else, as you know, we call entanglement. And it's just a matter of figuring out what that is and letting it go. It's no big deal, but you've got to let that go before you can really focus on what you want.
Mm,
It's the same with pain.
yeah. Well, this has been beautiful, a beautiful exploration of pain. Um, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else, because I think there's a lot you've said that has been soothing to me, and I think will help a lot of other people. But if there's anything else you can think of that, if there's someone experiencing a lot of pain right now, what would you want to tell them?
I'd want to tell them first and foremost, don't take anything I've said as a reason to beat up on yourself. I'm not beating up on you, and I don't want you to beat up on you because pain comes from a long habit. Pain doesn't develop overnight. It takes a long time for your body to actually get so worn down that it starts to really start expressing pain. So if it took a long time to get there, it's not going to be just like that to reverse that or to release that. So be very gentle with yourself and just know that it's part of being human. Our thoughts are so powerful. It's how we create everything. And that's not to say that it's your fault that you have pain. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it got there by a certain, unfolding. And as you learn to love yourself and as you practice some of these releasing skills and some of these focusing skills, you start to feel better. And it's totally up to you how much you want to really put focus into, reversing all of that or releasing all of that, however you want to say that, and how much you want to just, keep right on trucking. A lot of athletes play through the pain. It's worth it to them. They will
Mhm.
play with a sprained ankle or or whatever they've got because they so love the game. And somebody asked Abraham once, why does a dog stick his head out the window in the car? Because the bugs can, hit him and hurt him and make him blind and stuff. And the answer was because it's fun. Duh. Because it's fun. We do all kinds of things because it's fun, even though it hurts us. It
Yeah.
hurts us physically, it hurts us vibrationally, it detracts from the overall scope of things, or it's not what we meant. We make mistakes, we try things, we do things. We're here not to just play it safe all the time and just sit in this little narrow box where, okay, this is good, this is bad. No, it's not like that. It's so gray, it's not black and white. And so just be easy with yourself, be gentle with yourself about it. And if you're in a lot of pain, know that it's very compelling. I know, I've just been there fairly recently. It's very compelling. Give yourself a break. Start gently, start with little things. Read, rest, relax, talk it through. Not with somebody who's going to tell you more of the old, but somebody that'll tell you more of the new. And or otherwise, don't talk about it, don't post about it. Just start finding things that feel good to focus on. Start small, and you can start to feel that momentum get going. There's a vibrational essence, a resonance essence to momentum that we're not often taught. I like the metaphor of the big huge train. When they first start going, they're on these little tracks and those little wheels, and they get going really slow. And if you put a one of those chalk blocks, in front of one, they would stop completely. They couldn't go. But once they're going, they could blow through a brick wall. Like you could put a brick wall on the tracks, they just go boom right through it. Just keep right on. They wouldn't even notice. They wouldn't even
Mhm.
notice the impact. So it's the same way for us. When we get our momentum going, and it's a skill, it's a learnable skill. It's not hard, it just takes a little practice, a little understanding, and you get going with this vibrational momentum. Then you could get to the point where that thing that always took your back out or took your knee out or whatever it was, you you do it again later and nothing happened. You don't notice it. There's no twinge of pain at all. Like you can get to that point, but don't try to just jump straight there. Let that train gain momentum and momentum and momentum and momentum and enjoy the trip as much as you can. Enjoy the trip.
Yeah, that's wonderful, wonderful, really illuminating. Um,
Good. Thank you.
yeah, well, I certainly feel lighter. I feel relief. I feel like I have more tools and
Yay.
also really great
Beautiful.
insights. Yeah, thank you so much, Ramona.
Thank you, Annie. I have enjoyed this very much. Thank you so much.